So today, we're going to dive into a story where the pristine, beautiful world of mathematics crashes right into the fragility of the human mind. It's the absolutely haunting story of a brilliant mathematician, Marcus Webb, whose groundbreaking proof started to, well, bleed from the page right into his perception, and with some truly terrifying consequences. Let's get into it. You know, this simple, almost obsessive thought from Marcus's journal, it's where our story begins, and in a lot of ways, it's also where it ends. This becomes the battlefield for his sanity, a struggle sparked by a single, seemingly innocent question.
But before all the counting, there was just Marcus Webb, a really respected mathematician, whose world was governed by the comforting certainty of logic. But a single conversation at a conference in Vienna would plant a seed of, well, chaos. To really get what happened, we need to wrap our heads around two key mathematical ideas.
Okay, so first up is topology. Now, I want you to think of this as a kind of rubber sheet geometry. In the world of topology, a coffee mug and a donut are basically the same thing. Why? Because they both have one hole. A sphere and a cube, they're the same too. They have 0 holes. It's all about the essential properties of a shape, not what it looks like on the surface.
And the second idea? That's a manifold. Now, this is any space that seems totally flat from your close-up perspective, but is actually curved on a much, much larger scale. The surface of the Earth is the perfect example, right? These two concepts, topology and manifolds, they were the very foundation of Marcus's work, the tools he used to make sense of the universe.
So at that Vienna conference, a colleague, Dr. Yale Hofstadter, poses this seemingly simple question. See, Marcus had built his career on proving that a certain really complex, four-dimensional shape couldn't exist. But Hofstadter suggested his thinking was maybe a little too rigid. What if the very fabric of space could flex? That one question would become the absolute epicenter of his obsession.
And look, that question, it wasn't just some casual academic curiosity. Oh no. It sent Marcus spiraling down a rabbit hole. He wasn't just solving a puzzle anymore. He was building a proof that would have staggering, terrifying implications for the nature of our own reality.
I mean, this work was just grueling. It took him 3 long months just to frame the question the right way. Then came 11 months of relentless calculation, dead ends, frustration, you name it. And then, one morning, while he's just making coffee, it all clicked. The entire, elegant architecture of the proof just materialized in his mind, totally complete and absolutely perfect.
And here is the real kicker. The proof wasn't some abstract thought experiment. It was built on the solid foundation of Einstein's general relativity, our best description of how the universe actually works. And its conclusion was inescapable. If Einstein is right, then the fabric of our space isn't just flat. It must be folded in ways we can't perceive.
So, when Marcus shows this proof to his old mentor, Professor Caldwell, he gets this chilling piece of advice. Caldwell saw the mathematical beauty, for sure, but he also sensed the profound danger in what it was implying. He was basically warning Marcus, don't let the beautiful abstraction on the page bleed into the reality of your own mind. It was a warning that would, unfortunately, go unheeded.
But it was already too late. The intellectual problem had begun its slow, terrifying crawl from the realm of pure math into Marcus's actual perception of the world around him. And it all started in the very room where he worked. And his descent, it was gradual, almost unnoticeable at first. It started in July with what he described as just a fleeting, subtle fold in his wall. By December, a strange, anonymous, cryptic warning arrives in his mail. And by the next April, that subtle perception had solidified into something terrifyingly real, a definite, persistent fifth corner in his room.
You know, the wildest thing about this anonymous note he got, it didn't claim his math was wrong. Not at all. The danger, the note warned, wasn't that he was going crazy, but that he had discovered a truth so profound that the human mind just isn't built to handle it.
And there it was, a direct command against the very act that was consuming him. The note, in its own strange way, was validating his experience. It was like he wasn't just losing his mind. He was on a path someone else had walked down before, a path so dangerous they were now trying to warn him away from the edge.
So this forces Marcus to a critical juncture, right? Is he experiencing the greatest mathematical insight in a generation, or is he suffering a complete psychotic breakdown? The world around him started to offer its own, more conventional answers.
The moment of crisis really hit when the fifth corner was no longer just a fleeting glimpse. It was simply there, a quiet, definite, persistent feature of his reality.
And in a desperate bid for some objectivity, a moment of scientific clarity in all the chaos, Marcus did the only thing he could think of. He took a picture.
And the result? It was this stark, terrifying split in reality. The camera, our objective witness, it captured a perfectly normal room with 4 corners. But Marcus's own eyes, his own perception, saw a folded, impossible reality with 5. The gap between what he saw and what could be proven had become an unbridgeable chasm. His friend and colleague, James Okafor, offered this gentle but totally devastating counterargument. He pointed out that the very feeling of perfect internal consistency, where the proof confirms what you see and what you see confirms the proof, well, that's the exact hallmark of a delusion. It's a closed, self-reinforcing loop with no way to check against the outside world.
Then, a psychiatrist, Dr. Reyes. She provides the clinical diagnosis. This wasn't some supernatural event. It's actually a known phenomenon. Under extreme stress and intense focus, the brain's abstract reasoning can literally leak into its perceptual systems. The 5th corner wasn't a feature of the room. It was the proof overflowing from Marcus's brilliant but completely exhausted mind.
So, faced with these rational explanations, and after a gentle intervention from his sister, Marcus took a step back from the edge. What followed wasn't some neat resolution, but a fragile, ambiguous piece with a 4-cornered world. The turning point, when it finally came, was so mundane. After a week away from his work, a week of sleep, food, and just simple human connection at his sister's house, he came home. He looked at the wall, and the 5th corner was simply gone. It didn't vanish in a flash of light, it just wasn't there anymore.
So in the aftermath, Marcus finds this fragile new balance. He published his proof, but he was really careful to strip it of any claims about physical reality. The perception of the 5th corner was gone, but the memory and that nagging doubt, that lingered. And Marcus himself began the difficult process of recovery, basically learning to live inside an unanswered question. But the story doesn't quite end there, does it? A colleague later poses the most unsettling question of all. Remember the anonymous note mentioned a support group? Well, what if that group wasn't for people who were delusional, but for people who had genuinely perceived a deeper reality, and were then convinced, for their own sanity, to simply look away?
And this is the state of permanent intellectual vertigo where Marcus is left. He has to hold 2 contradictory ideas as true at the exact same time. The logic of his mathematical proof is flawless, and the physical reality of his room now is that it has 4 corners. Both are true.
And so we're left with this haunting final image. The 5th corner may be gone, but the question it represents will probably haunt Marcus forever. It's a powerful reminder of the thin, fragile veil between genius and madness, and it leaves all of us to wonder about the corners of our own reality, and whether we too are always looking carefully enough.